Welcome to Theme Weavers, your weekly wisdom for weaving yoga themes into your classes to inspire your students. I'm your host, Heidi Kasner. Let's get started. Welcome, Theme Weavers. Today, we are going to look at how to deliver a Dharma talk and weave the myth of half moon pose, which addresses the delicate balance that we seek in our lives. I'm really excited because I both love this pose and I really enjoy the myth behind it, and I hope that you do too. I'll try and be super fast with a few announcements. Thank you to those of you that listen week after week and that leave reviews, 5-star reviews, and leave comments. Any interaction you have with the show on Spotify or wherever you listen really helps the algorithm and have the show show up for others. So I really appreciate it because it's helping the word about Theme Weaver spread. And also, if you are so inclined and want to support the show, there's an option to monetize for a very small fee each month to thank me for my efforts and to show your appreciation for the show. And also, if you are a chromatic yoga teacher and you are a paid subscriber, you are able to track your hours and have them count toward your ability to move up throughout the levels of your experience and training. Lastly, we have an awesome course available. It's called Theme Weavers Academy. I've talked about it after every week, so hopefully you know about it by now. It is a quick practical course to help you craft yoga classes with confidence and creativity. And it also has the option of downloading 22 inspo sheets for full inspiration on 22 different Dharma talks, as well as an option for 5 fully written modern day Dharma talks, which are pretty awesome. So those are all available to you. The link is in the show notes. And I also wrote a book. It's called Energize Your Life, a chakra workbook for personal transformation. And the link is below too. All right, thanks for all that. And now let's jump in. Yoga story time, what you've all been waiting for. So today I want to share a story about Chandra, the moon god, and his 27 wives. This myth reminds us about balance, the importance of fairness, and what happens when we lose sight of harmony in our relationships and responsibilities. First, just a little bit of background on Chandra. In Hinduism, Chandra is the god of the moon and is associated with plants, vegetation, and the night. He's also known as Soma, which I learned that recently, and I had this moment where my jaw just kind of like dropped to the ground. Okay, hear me out here. Here's my little brain thought. So here in America, there's a store called Soma, and it's basically the Victoria's Secret of the Chico's brand. They do a lot of pajamas and undergarments and things like that. And Soma is now, we know, the other name for the moon god. And we wear jammies and things like that at night under the moon. So, mind blown. I wonder if they knew that when they named the store, or if it's just a weird coincidence. But anyway, Chandra is often depicted riding a chariot pulled by horses or geese, and he holds lotus flowers in his hands. There is sometimes a moon in a halo behind his head, and his hands are in the Varada Mudra, or the boon-granting gesture, and Abhya Mudra. Varada Mudra is a common mudra or sacred gesture where the palm is held outward and the fingers are outstretched and point downward. And Abhya Mudra is a hand gesture that symbolizes fearlessness, protection, and peace. And you do it typically by raising your right hand to shoulder height, bending your arm slightly, facing your palm outward, and joining your fingers upright. So that's what Chandra looks like. But okay, back to the myth at hand today. The story continues. Chandra, the moon god, was known for his radiant beauty and charm. He was married to 27 sisters, not just 27 wives, but 27 sisters. Each of the sisters represented the 27 lunar mansions or constellations that the moon travels through in the night sky. Every wife was equally devoted to Chandra, and it was his duty to honor and care for all of them equally. But Chandra had a favorite, Rohini, the most beautiful of his wives. He was enchanted by her, and he spent all of his time with her, neglecting his other wives. The other wives felt slighted and hurt, and so they complained to their father, who got very angry by Chandra's behavior. He placed a curse on Chandra, causing his light to wane and diminish. As Chandra's light began to fade, the gods and sages intervened. They reminded Daksha, the wife's father, that the moon's light was essential to the balance of the world. Daksha agreed to modify the curse, allowing Chandra to wax and wane, growing brighter for half of the month and dimmer for the other half. This cycle brought balance back to the world and reminded Chandra of his responsibility to shine equally on all of his wives. This myth speaks to the importance of balance in our lives, whether it's between work and rest, balance in our relationships, or the way we allocate our time and energy. Chandra's favoritism caused disharmony, not just in his relationships, but in the cosmos itself. It's a reminder that imbalance in one area can ripple outward, affecting the whole. In our lives today, you might notice times when you're pouring too much energy into one area while neglecting others. I'm kind of guilty of that. Perhaps focusing on work at the expense of personal relationships, or giving all of your attention to others without caring for yourself. This myth invites us to reflect on where we might be out of balance and how we can restore harmony. The waxing and waning of the moon also reflect the natural ebb and flow of life. There are times when you feel full of energy and light, and times when you need to rest and retreat. Just like Chandra, you're not meant to shine brightly all of the time. Recognizing and honoring these cycles in yourself and others can lead to greater compassion and understanding. The challenges arise when we resist these cycles, when we try to be on all the time, or neglect areas of our lives that need attention. Finding balance requires self-awareness, it requires patience, and it requires a willingness to shift and adapt. As we move through our physical practice today, let Half Moon Pose remind you of Chandra's story. In this pose, you balance grounding through your standing leg and expanding toward the sky with your lifted arm, embodying both stability and openness. Use the practice to explore where you might need to bring more balance into your life. All right. That's my Dharma Talk story time I have for you. It's done. And now we get to get into the part of class where we find a phrase to drop as like little breadcrumbs throughout the class at different points to help your students come back to this idea of the myth of Chandra. If you follow the breadcrumbs, then you stay on course, connecting the entire class back to the theme. So it's a nice cohesive package for your students. So some options that I like to use are balance your energy like the moon, grounded and radiant. Or find harmony between effort and ease in this pose. Or feel your foundation support your expansion. Or perhaps balance isn't static, it's a dynamic flow of adjustments. Or lastly, I like this one as a question. Where are you pouring too much of your light and energy, whether in this pose or in your life? I love reflective questions like that. That's a fun one for me. I'm sure that you can come up with other phrases that you might use as thematic through-line phrases to drop as breadcrumbs throughout class that have a language that you're comfortable with in your voice. Like maybe you're a more flowery yoga teacher with more descriptive language in a way that I'm not, or you're much more concrete or like giving examples throughout class. So I'd love to hear what you come up with. All right, so now we have our thematic three-line phrase. So let's have a chat about how we bring all of this alive in class. What additional things do you think we should hit on? Things like peak poses or specific pranayamas or really anything else related to the myth of Chandra. So for me, the peak pose of Ardha Chandrasana or even the revolved version of the posture make a lot of sense. If you're not familiar, Ardha Chandrasana, if your right leg is on the ground, your left leg is lifted with external rotation of the thigh bone of the left leg. Your right arm's reaching toward the ground, the left arm's reaching up over your shoulder. The revolved version, instead of keeping your hip open and the left arm up, you'll now close the hip so the toes point to the ground. Your left arm comes down. You revolve the spine and your right arm lifts up toward the ceiling or the sky, wherever you are. So for me, that's a more complicated one. I prefer half moon in my body. I probably need a little bit more of the revolved version for my own balance, right? It's not only the postures that come easy or feel good. Sometimes we need to practice the others as well to balance things out. I like when I do a class like this to offer a preparatory version on a knee. So let's say you're in tabletop, your right knee would stay down, just like our right foot was on the ground. Your left leg can come back behind you. You can open the left toes to face the left side of the room as your left arm reaches up over your shoulder. And then you can bring the left hand down to the ground, close the hips so the left toes face down and the right arm can lift up over your shoulder. It's nice to play with it in both standing and in the kneeling version. You can also do it on your back with like a leg being up over your hip with a strap in your hand, and then maybe externally rotating the leg out to the side. Just all these different variations where you can imprint the final shape of the peak pose throughout class in different ways. So not only are we dropping the thematic through line throughout class to remind us back to our theme and our myth, but we're also taking the peak pose and sort of splitting that up into little breadcrumbs that we can put throughout class as well to help us prepare. It's pretty powerful when we do that. So that would be typically the peak pose, or both two different options, or the same class that plays with the open and the closed hip. There's different ways that you can play with it. that relate to the same myth. Then for a pranayama that I would like to do, it would be called Chandra, which is left nostril breathing, which can cultivate calm and balance. So single nostril breath is a breathing technique usually done at the end of a yoga practice to bring the body temperature down. Chandra Vedana is a pranayama also known as left nostril breathing specifically. You could also do a mudra called Chandra Mudra, which is a moon gesture, cupping the hands together to symbolize receptivity. It's kind of like Anjali Mudra, prayer hands, but you cup the hands so the palms and thumbs also aren't touching, like the inside is open. Really, these are all just different ways to bring us back to the moon, right? To bring it back to our theme or story and the lessons from it. If you wanted to play with mudras, you could also do the two mudras that Chandra is shown to be holding and the way that he's often depicted. And as a reminder, Varada Mudra, or boon granting gesture, is a common mudra or sacred gesture where the palm is held outward and the fingers are outstretched and point downward. And Abhya Mudra is a hand gesture that symbolizes fearlessness, protection, and peace. You do it by raising typically your right hand to shoulder height, bending your arm slightly, facing your palm outward, and joining your fingers upright. If you're a quote teacher, there's some teachers that just love quotes. Some inspirational quotes that are related to the myth that you could use in class are, this one's Khalil Gibran. We are all like the bright moon. We still have our darker side. It's a nice reminder of our shadow and our brightness at the same time. This one is unknown. The moon reminds us that even in darkness, there is light. Or maybe you want to choose some songs that are related to the myth. And two that I thought, one is like a little bit more classical and one is a little bit more pop, right? Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata might be nice. Nice song with a lot of, there's lightness in it and there's dark energy too. It's really nice. And then Top Loaders, Dancing in the Moonlight, right? Dancing in the moonlight, everybody's dancing, da, 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 da. All right, I love to sing. So those are some options. So now that we've talked about all of that, let's wrap it up in a reverse Dharma talk, the closing lesson or message that you give to your class to keep the Dharma talk alive and with them as they walk off of their mat. So I might say something like, as you prepare to leave your mat, take a moment to reflect on the lessons of Chandra's story. Life, like the moon, is a balance of light and shadow, expansion and retreat. When we neglect certain areas of our lives or overextend in others, we create imbalance. But just like Chandra learned, we have the ability to adjust, restore harmony, and shine more evenly. Ask yourself, where can I bring more balance into my life? How can I honor both my need to shine and my need to rest? I love that. I love ending with a question too and giving them some quiet moments to ponder. All right, yogis, if you like this yoga story time, find a way to bring the themes alive in your own voice, in your own practice and teaching. The story of Chandra and his 27 wives teaches us the importance of balance and fairness in all areas of life. May this myth inspire you to find harmony and connection both on and off the mat. I tried to keep this one relatively short for you. There's also a link where you can download the Dharma Talk, my verbiage that I use for the Dharma Talk, if that would help you as well. The link is in the show notes and you can access it and download it and use it as you like. Then please reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or email and let me know how it lands. I am here to support you, fellow yoga teacher, in your class preparation and delivery. So let me know how I can be of the most support. Tune in next time for a new myth for inspiration for your classes. And don't forget to check out our course, Theme Weavers Academy, Crafting Impactful Classes. Click the link in the show notes to learn more and enroll. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next week with a new myth and modern inspiration to bring to your practice and your teaching. See you next time.